Hi, everyone. I'm Reverend Carol, and I'm reading your YFM story today. But can you believe it's February already? This month we are celebrating Black History Month, and the stories you will hear from your youth and family ministry is about inclusivity, something that our country hasn't had a great history in practicing. So, what is inclusivity? Well, what does it mean to be inclusive? Well, it means caring and including all people, regardless of the color of their skin, their culture, their beliefs, who they love, or anything that may make them different from us. Our story today is different birds and different folks. And as you can see behind me, I have a bird feeder and all sorts of different birds come to it. Why, I have bluebirds and blue jays, robins, cardinals, those are the red birds, and wrens, chickadees, doves, woodpeckers. I've even had red-tailed hawks and Cooper's hawks in my yard, even owls, which I'm wearing some owl earrings today. And many, many more that I don't even know the names to. But I do have a bird book and binoculars so that I can watch them. I love to sit out on my deck and watch all the different varieties of birds. My neighborhood has a variety of people in it as well. And I know quite a few of them, and I'm getting to know more. Now, you will hear in the story that your neighbor isn't just a person who lives next to you. It could be someone you share different communities with, like your home, or maybe it's your school community, or your church community, or maybe simply the world community. Now, before I get to the story, I invite you to say this affirmation with me. And I'll say it first, and then you can repeat it with me. I am part of the community of life that includes all people. Now, if you'll say that with me, I am part of the community of life that includes all people. Now, the name of the story is Different Birds and Different Folks. Reuben was looking out the window and writing something in a battered blue spiral notebook when his mother called him to the breakfast table. She was surprised that Reuben found the bird feeder more interesting than pancakes, especially pancakes with blueberries and bananas. That's a rufous-sided towhee, Mom. Rufous means red, and I could see his red sides. Reuben turned from the window and spied the pancakes on his plate. He popped the blueberry in his mouth as he sat down and dropped his notebook on the floor so he could pick up his fork. His mom didn't give him a chance to say anything before Reuben started again with a mouthful of pancakes. That's 14 different birds. I've counted since we put up the bird feeder. I bet I'll have more than anyone. Well, since Reuben was focused on his pancake for a moment, his mom was able to reply. I had no idea there were so many kinds of birds around here. This project has been fun, but remember, you don't win if you see the most birds. The goal is to see how many different birds everyone in the class sees during the month. He nodded as he swallowed pancakes. Today was the final day for counting birds, and the class was going to make a graph to show the different varieties they had seen. The teacher had promised that if the total was more than 25, they could go on a field trip to the river and watch for eagles. Reuben really wanted to see an eagle and go swimming in the river. Okay, I know. Can I go tell Mr. Hawkins about the rufous-sided towhee? Reuben had finished the whole stack of pancakes and his orange juice. She nodded yes, and he dashed out the door. Their neighbor, Mr. Hawkins, loved birds and often gave Reuben birdseed for his feeder. No one knew his first name because he didn't like to talk about himself, but he loved to talk about birds. Reuben gave Mr. Hawkins a daily report about the birds he saw, and Mr. Hawkins showed Reuben the latest photographs he took of birds in the area. He had given Reuben a photograph of a red-tailed hawk that he took from his back porch, and it now hung over Reuben's bed. The apartment complex where Reuben and his mom lived wasn't very big, and Reuben knew almost all the other residents. He was naturally friendly, and there were only a few other kids in the complex, so Reuben talked with everyone. He noticed Isabel on her porch visiting with Fedor. Isabel was an Italian grandmother who moved here from New York to be near her grandchildren. When she saw Reuben, she called, "There's that beautiful boy." She always said that. As he approached Mr. Hawkins' door, Reuben had a funny thought about Fedor. Fedor was an artist from Ecuador, and his apartment was painted 11 different colors, 12 if you counted the inside of the kitchen cupboards. Reuben thought Fedor was like a colorful parrot among a lot of ordinary brown sparrows. On the other side of Fedor was a neighbor named Henry. Henry rarely talked to anyone, and he was always grumpy and scowling when Reuben saw him. It was hard to be nice to him when he was never nice back. But Reuben knew that Henry had been married more than 60 years, and his wife had died. He must be sad and lonely, so Reuben thought it might help to send him friendly thoughts and a smile whenever he could. And so he smiled and silently said, "Hi, Henry," to Henry's closed door, and then jumped up the steps to Mr. Hawkins' porch. Mr. Hawkins congratulated him on spotting the rufous-sided towhee and gave him a picture of an eagle to share with his class. His mother always walked with him to school and then caught the bus to work. As they walked, Reuben read her the list of all the birds he had identified. He also told her about the field trip to the river and the Eagle Observatory. They stopped to greet Agatha, who was waiting for her ride to work. Agatha had to use a wheelchair to get around, but it didn't stop her from going all over the city. She worked for the library and organized programs for school, and even came to Reuben's class one time. Agatha thought the field trip sounded exciting. As they said goodbye, she wished him good luck. "I hope you get more than 25 birds on your graph today. Let me know how it goes." Reuben saw Henry, the mail carrier, and gave him a wave, then ran ahead of his mom to catch up with his friend William. William's family lived in a big house next to the apartments. They needed a big house. Why, William had 2 sisters and 4 dogs. His mom was a dentist, and his dad worked in a tall building downtown. The boys compared their bird lists and discovered that William had 3 birds on his list that Reuben hadn't seen. They were very hopeful about the field trip when they arrived at school. The first thing the class did was to create the bird graph on a big bulletin board. Everyone added the birds from their list, and then they figured out how many different species were seen during the month of their bird feeder experiment. The whole class let out a yippee when the total came to 33. Reuben arrived home from school anxious to tell his mom about his field trip, but first he was greeted by Lindsay. Lindsay's porch was crowded with pots of organic herbs, which she was watering. Reuben knew Lindsay taught yoga and was vegetarian, and her partner was a volleyball coach. She called out to Reuben, "Wow, that bird feeder of yours is a popular place. I saw 2 juncos, a chickadee, and a rufous-sided towhee over there today. There's so many different birds, and all of them are beautiful, don't you think? Especially eagles, Reuben answered with a grin as he went inside. After he told his mom the good news, he would have to go and tell the other people in the neighborhood. So, are there people in the neighborhood who are anything like Reuben's neighborhood? Hmm. Name some ways that Reuben and his neighbors are similar, and then name some ways that they are different. Well, they all seem to like the birds, and they're really interested in what Reuben had to share with them. And they're all different because they're different ages and they come from different places. Would you like to live in a neighborhood like Reuben's? I love my neighborhood. Lots of different people, and I have lots of different birds. So I hope you enjoyed this story and have a wonderful day. You know, we miss you here at Unity of Austin. And if you have birds in your neighborhood, maybe you'd like to draw a picture of them and send them to me. I would love to have them in our newsletter, The Spark. Know that you can always do that and have an adult send it to me at my email at youth@unitychurchaustin.org. Now, I would like to close with blessing you. I bless you, I love you, I appreciate you, and I behold the Christ in you. Bye for now.